Welcome everyone. Happy Friday. I am Ben Larson, the CEO of Vertosa. And if you're new to these parts, we are manufacturers of custom cannabinoid solutions for your infused products. We play an integral role in the product development phase where we create the magic ingredients that make your products fun. We were disappointed to hear about the cancellation of Expo West, but definitely support New Hope in kind of focusing on the health and wellness of the community and putting profits aside and making sure that we kind of get through this interesting time. So we're here in the office, you're here on the other side of the camera, and yeah, we're giving this a shot for the first time. So as we kind of go through this, if you have questions, comments, or just general feedback, please feel free to put it in the chat, or you probably have my email address, so go ahead and email me directly as well. We do have a moderator taking questions, organizing them. Tari, say hello to the crowd, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the webinar this morning. I'll be taking your questions throughout the webinar, as well as we'll have a Q&A session towards the end of the session today.
Yeah, so hopefully this isn't the new normal, but in case it is, no time like the present to give it a try here. We do want this to be interactive. It is taking the place of an in-person conference. So like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll get right to it. We have Lo and Tari helping us. So if you have easy ones, we'll try to get it knocked out of the way right away. Otherwise, we'll probably save the bulk of them to the end in case we address them in the middle. And then we can just spend the last half of the show answering your questions. So let's jump right in. I've been in this industry for about 5 years. It has been an evolution, right? When you are building products, companies in the cannabis and hemp industry, it is like building a startup within a startup. Change is constant. And if you are coming from outside the industry, if you have products in the mainstream and you're looking about how to get in, when to get in, you're starting to kind of see that. The uncertainty, a lot of questions about regulation, who are the co-packers. We're going to try to really dig into that and make sure that we're making it easier to create your products. And we don't have all the answers because you know what? No one does. But that's what is important. And frankly, what we've built a lot of our brand on is just being very self-aware that this is an evolving industry, right? We need to be very transparent and very clear about what we know, what we don't know, the limitations of our technology. And if you have worked with us, you will know that is the ethos that we are building with our brand. In true fashion, just this week, there was some pretty big news, actually. If you haven't seen, the first of which, Germany, kind of starting to break down the barrier of novel food, which kind of novel foods in the EU, if you're not aware, is kind of, it's very similar to the FDA barriers that we have here in the US. Germany, an 80 million person market, huge. And so it's not all the way there yet. It's kind of actually very similar to the position we're here in the US. So the EIHA, or the European Industrial Hemp Association, has provided guidance, and the USDA equivalent, BMEL, in Germany has agreed. And so that leaves the last kind of governing body, the FDA equivalent in Germany, to really kind of adopt this guidance. So it's getting close. It's great signaling. If Germany, decides to take CBD off the novel food list, then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a realm where, maybe all of the EU. That becomes a very interesting market for us to focus on. We have a lot of partners out in Europe that we're starting to kind of really spin up those conversations with so that we can be sure to have boots on the ground and really provide guidance when it comes to the EU. And then back here on the home soil, the FDA this week providing a bit more clarity into where they're at as far as getting hemp and CBD into products. The cynics out there might be like, well, they haven't actually really said anything new. But there were a couple things that came out of the report that at least spoke to me. And so the first of which is dropping CBD and hemp into kind of the dietary supplement category. There's a lot of implications with that, but also a lot of flexibility. We're really excited about the potential for hemp and CBD to become regulated as a dietary supplement. In fact, we will have a webinar solely dedicated to that topic in the future. So stay tuned for that. The other part of it was, they kind of just admitted that it would be dumb to completely ban CBD. So it's like, you take these two pieces, it's okay. Now we're talking about a true, hopefully, potential inevitability, right? That's what we're looking for when we're kind of, building our company, designing these products, so on and so forth. So, again, going back to what I was saying, building a startup in a startup, this is all forming around us right now, and this is the state of the industry. This volatility is something that we've become very used to as operators that have their business fully rooted into the industry. We are a cannabis and hemp business, right? We don't have a lot of interest in mainstream CPG. We love it as individuals. We consume a lot of products. We glean a lot of information, but truly Vertosa, we are beholden to the ups and downs of the hemp and cannabis industry, right? The great thing about this is that we've built a team, these fine people here behind me, that are dedicated, passionate, and just wanting to be stewards of this industry. And so we are here and we care. We're not just building any other company. We're not just an ingredients company. We are a group of passionate people that truly care about what we're doing. And so this is why it's so important to us. This is why we're so outspoken about being truthful and daylighting the information that is out there. There's been a lot of kind of opportunistic products that you've seen on the market, and there's been reports that have come out, and we've long known about kind of some of these bad players in the industry. And yes, you might have a clear and flavorless water out on the market that claims to have CBD in it, but when push comes to shove, you go and test it and there is no CBD into it, and frankly we find that offensive. And so when you work with our team, this is kind of at the heart of every interaction, right? And so we want you to constantly hold us true to that. It's very important to us. As we develop these new products, we are finding ourselves not only going into beverages as most of you have seen us, but starting to work in really interesting formats. And what working with all these different formats has taught us is that, look, every product needs reliable ingredients. It's not special just because it's in hemp and cannabis, right? You need to rely on your active ingredients just as if you were adding caffeine, sugar, or any other ingredient into your product. And that's what we're trying to provide for this industry. We are focusing solely on providing the best ingredients, the best technology, and ensuring that we're creating the experience that the end consumer wants, the experience that you want to deliver to your end consumer. And so this is what we're doing. We're constantly pushing the envelope. We are holding ourselves to the food and bev standard. And what that means is certifications. So when you're out there sourcing your ingredients, whether it's from us or not, be sure that you're asking for the right certifications. And that means GMP certification, right? This is ensuring that you are having the consistency, the quality that is required to deliver widespread product that has consistent experiences. And this is super important because, I would argue that if it were just sugar, it's relatively easy to be consistent. The cannabis and hemp plant, it's so much more than just CBD, right? There are different compounds that create different experiences to different efficacies for different applications. And so as we get deeper, as the general public learns more and more, it will be our job to provide not only the knowledge and experience to deliver those experiences, but the consistency and being GMP certified is where we really kind of hold ourselves to that standard. Every process that we have has an SOP, and we follow those diligently. Again, the development of the market has allowed us to really kind of stay at the forefront, right? We have recently received our organic certification for 2 of our formulas. This is groundbreaking. You know, actually having organic hemp ingredients for your organic products. We're super excited about this. They are unique products. We'll bring Austin on later. He can talk a little bit more about it, but you know, creating really special products that pay tribute to the plant, that potentially, depending on where you are in the camp, have more efficacious results because they have the whole plant medicine. It is a unique product. There's a flavor profile, but that's because it has the flavonoids, the terpenes, and all the other amazing things in the plant. So, you know, just something we're really excited about. It's the evolution of the industry that we're watching right before our own eyes. And so, you know, as I was saying before, we are the ones that are really dedicated to doing this. And all these advancements take dedication from a science perspective. And that is why we have created a science-first company. And our company was founded by a scientist. Many of you know him. He is our founder. He is our chief science officer, the happy chemist, Dr. Harold Hahn. I'm going to bring him on right now, and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about our product. All right. There's happy applause going on the other side of the webinar there.
Hey, everyone.
All right. So when I first met Harold, I was running a startup incubator, working with all sorts of different founders. And when I met you, you know, I asked you, what is your why? And you responded to me with the most like heartfelt thing that I had ever heard. And it was that you wanted to spread happiness amongst the world. And cannabis was the pathway to do so. So I'm going to go a little off script here. And I just want you to give people a brief explanation of your journey into cannabis. Like, how did you find it? Like, why are you here? What made you switch out of Biorad, which is diagnostic tools for medicine, to which actually is pretty relevant to the situation we're in with the coronavirus.
Exactly.
Maybe touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, why are we standing here? Why are we talking into this webinar camera?
Awesome, cool. So I'm an emotion chemist by training. My last job at Biorad, we developed this digital droplet PCR using emotion to detect target DNA. Funny thing is, right now, the coronavirus, how you detect that is using Biorad PCR. You know, working in Biorad, you know, I had a chance to experience the plant. That's 6 years ago. And, you know, in the beginning, I was really thoughtful and careful about this plant. And then after different trials, I really find the beauty of this plant, and I want to contribute. And who knows? This emotion chemistry and cannabis have this, you know, meet up here. So it's really fascinating.
It's amazing. And so the chemistry that you've applied to this, you know, when I first met you, I said, hey, you solve this solution, you make this work in water, we'll have a great opportunity. And you did. You came back to me. You had this little vial. We poured it into a glass of water, and it just kind of dissipated and was relatively clear. And you know, I tasted it. I'm like, well, it doesn't taste like weed at all. And I certainly started feeling it relatively quickly, right? So that was amazing. And we had these visions of grandeur, right? It was like, oh, all we need to do is create gallons and gallons and gallons of this and get it all around the world, and we'll, you know, successfully achieve your vision and on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
And then it got more complicated. And so one of the first things that we learned, and what I want you to talk about first, is this theory that one size does not fit all, which has been, well, on one hand, a source of constant consternation. On the other hand, is where we've actually provided a lot of value as a company. So, you know, speaking to the group, can you just kind of talk about like what does it mean to say like one size does not fit all?
Right. You know, I will start from here. If you put our emulsion into water, that's the most simplest base. Well, now we are talking about the alcohol beer, the alcohol wine, you know, cold brew coffee, soda, juice, and the base are so complex by itself. And now you're trying to infuse a complex emulsion into the base, and that just adds complexity. And so you have to firstly make sure, you know, your emulsion is compatible with the base, and that's the first step. And then to make a safety beverage CPG, you have to go through a pasteurization process, which usually involve high heat, high pressure, and those harsh environments could destroy your emulsion. You know, so your emulsion has to be stable against those methods. And finally, this is just a glassware, but what if people put into PET bottles, put into aluminum cans? We all know can has a liner. You know, that liner sucks the emulsion on top of it. That's why you lose potency, right? So, you know, how can you design emulsion is not you know, losing potency in different packaging material?
Well, and it goes a little bit further, right? It's just like, you know, what are people trying to market to their consumers, and what ingredients do they want to put on their labels, and what cannabinoids do they want to put in those emulsions? And so knowing all that and kind of having those conversations, and I'm pointing over here because Austin's sitting in the room as well. When we're having our conversations with our customers, you know, kind of where did we start, and where have we gone with the different formulas that we offer to people?
Right. So at the very beginning, that's our conventional formula. We tried together.
The clear one, fast acting.
Yeah, exactly. It was super bitter.
It's pretty bitter.
And then,
but, you know, you can work around it, right?
Yeah.
We did.
You have a good flavor chemist. Yeah. You can work around it. But then it really comes down to, like you said, the label requirements and the taste. And then we actually, from that point, we start to build up different formula systems. Now we have our conventional emulsion formula and natural emulsion formula, like I mentioned, organic, certified organic emulsion formula.
Very good. Very good. All right. We have a question coming in. Therese is going to feed it on over.
This question is from Thomas, and he writes, does the emulsion compatibility with the base question also apply to the active ingredient, i.e. the area of CBD raw materials created equal? And will the emulsifier for CBD work with CBD from vendor A as well as CBD from vendor B?
Great question. Okay, multi-parts here. Let's start with the input question. You know, what kind of inputs do we work with? You know, does it change the way we manipulate the emulsion systems? Give us a little bit of insight to that.
Sure. I think the emulsion is consisted of the core. So the core is active ingredients. So this core can either be CBD, CBN, THC, or THCV. It doesn't matter.
Or full spectrum.
Or full spectrum. Yeah. As long as a oil soluble core, it can be in that core. And now you have the core selected. Now you're selecting the edge, the shell around the core, which is our emulsifier system, which defines whether the emulsion is a conventional, natural, or organic.
So let's use Thomas's question, get right into the, thank you for the segue, Thomas. This is actually kind of the next section that we're going into, compatibility and stability, right? Big topic, again, source of a lot of consternation. And frankly, not to poo-poo too many of our competitors, but like when people are approaching the one-size-fits-all solution, our eventual customers end up coming to us and be like, look, we put something into something and it works immediately, but like it doesn't sit on the shelf too well. So, you know, what is happening? And there's physical stability, chemical stability, potency stability, microbials. There's just a lot going on. And so maybe we just go ahead and start going down that list that I just rattled off, and we can kind of talk about each one. And I do find that like physical and chemical stability is probably the two most things that we do end up talking about. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I think the first part is ingredient compatibility. I'll give an example. Polyphenol drinks. red wines, pomegranate juices. Our previous emulsion formula is not compatible with them. If you infuse it, you immediately see so much red polyphenols precipitates on the bottom. And then we're going back to our drawing board and we redesign the emulsion and to launch a new emulsion type that is compatible with the polyphenol drink. So that answers the first one, compatibility. You have to be compatible with the ingredients. And the second part is you have to have a stable emulsion by itself, right? The emulsion shouldn't be separating into layers, shouldn't have sediments by itself. So that's why we did a lot of study, not only by ourselves, but with third-party labs to test, okay, is your emulsion really stable by itself, right? In water, just in water over time, over a high temperature, what happens there? So we have good amount of data to show our emulsion itself is stable. And then now we talk about pasteurization methods and stability with packaging material. Right. And we have been doing tests for the whole last year with so many clients, right? Clients going into glass bottles, PETs, HDPE, different can liners, right? And we learn a lot of what is the shortcoming of emulsion, and especially for can liners, we start to invent to first collaborate with the can suppliers, and then start to improve, or I would say fortify our emulsion to be more compatible with the liners.
Yeah, and just to kind of give you some framing of what we have been able to learn over the last couple of years, we've worked with over 75 different products, putting them through their paces and understanding compatibility, so that when you come to us with a cold brew coffee, we generally know it's like, here are the formulas that are going to work best with that. Or if you're coming with, like Harold was saying, a red wine, very specific formulas that will work with that. And then as we kind of develop new formulas or new opportunities, such as the organic, we know exactly what those products will go well in. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so the can liner issue has been a really big pain for the industry. Some people have been trying to dance around it. Others have just kind of done whatever it takes to get products on the shelves and then kind of ignored what the eventual absorption was. But no, that's not good enough, because what we care about is the experience of the end consumer, because consumer trust is the future of the industry.
Totally.
All right, we have another question.
Okay, this is for both Dr. Hahn and Vertosa. The little wine guy here with his partner Nick P. They say, thank you so much for hosting the seminar, and how effective are tetrapacks? And also, is it possible to use Velcorin post-bottling in replacement of heat pasteurization? All
right, getting very, very technical. I'm glad you're here, because we ran into Tetra Pak actually last Expo. That was the first time we talked to them, and then probably around the same time was when we started working on wine. So in Velcorin, right? Let's hit both of those.
Right. For Tetra Pak, we did our preliminary test, which we get a Tetra Pak and we infuse our emulsion in there. As you know, Tetra Pak, the inner material is usually a polyethylene, and our results has shown that our emulsion is actually pretty compatible. Well, with different base, I will say we will test your base to make the real data for you. And for red wine, what is the question for red wine?
He asked.
Velcorin. Yeah, so we have actually tried Velcorin not only in red wine, but also in juices with our co-packing partner. So I would say it works because first, you don't see a flavor change. And secondly, we don't lose potency. The CBD is still there. And thirdly, at least for the wine, the efficacy of the Velcorin is there.
Very good. All right. So we talked a lot about compatibility, stability, and if there are more questions, and I'm sure there are based on how many we get from our customers, by all means, keep the questions coming. But I do want to talk about homogeneity and accuracy. It's kind of how we launched a company, right? When the cannabis regulations got implemented, we saw so many products coming off the shelves because they weren't able to meet that 10% threshold that was required to match their labeling. And once we came in and started infusing with a homogeneous solution, it was able to get products back on the shelves. And so How has that impacted how we've kind of ran our product development, how we've approached the hemp industry, and kind of where it's taking us as far as new product development?
Right. So early last year, we were helping our clients to solve the potency issue in the beverage. And the potency issue in the beverage is actually very challenging because, lab testing, they have different methods and there is low concentration, right? To accurately detect the suspended emulsion from there is hard. So, and we did a lot of work with the lab. And also, moving forward into using our emulsion, infusing other products like edibles, candies, gummies. I think our emulsion is going to shine even better in those areas because, I've been into the gummy manufacturers and seeing they're using distillate to try to infuse into this big pot of gummy. And distillate is not water soluble, so they have to be very hot and super, mixing super hard and to hopefully make sure their distillate is evenly distributing the gummies, but it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And the best way for us to kind of keep tracking this is building the partnerships that we have with great labs, Resco, CW, Canalysis, Eurofins, all sorts of different labs that we use to kind of constantly test. And so again, just kind of framing it up for the audience, what sort of data should they be asking for when they're getting their products or getting their inputs? Like, how do we keep people on track and confident that the ingredients that they're receiving are the best?
Right. So even though we are a cannabis company, but we use the standard of the food company standard, the high standard, to give our client a peace of mind. So essentially, when you are buying an ingredient from us, we usually offer you two COAs. The first COA is from the third-party testing lab. So we're going to test, we call it Big Six. Right? It's a lot of items in here.
Big Six.
Big Six.
Did you know them from memory?
Yeah, Big Six. Let's do it. Okay.
Let's do it.
So potency, microbial, pesticide, heavy metals, microtoxins, and solvents.
All right. I was afraid you weren't going to do it.
Yeah. So, people say, hey, why? That is a lot of information, but we just want to give our clients peace of mind and just set the standards high for the industry. And also because we are selling ingredient which is emulsion, it relates to droplets and pH and density. So every batch we're going to offer internal QC report. So we're going to tell you, okay, what is the potency, what is the density, pH, and droplet size and distribution.
Very good. Very good. Okay, we're getting a little down into the weeds. Got very sciencey, but I want to bring it back to the product. And we are all here because we want to create great products. And before I get there, we have another question. So Tari, what is it?
This one just came up and it is from Dan, and he asked, the CBD sample you are referring to, if I'm not mistaken, is white in concentrated form. Will they be clear once in water solution?
Great question. So we have a number of solutions, right? Some of them are white, some are a little bit more translucent, and then depending on which solution, when you put into water, it also depends on concentration because you're talking about dispersing droplets into a substance. You can go from clear to opaque, right? That is kind of the range, but that is the whole kind of point of the fact that this is not a one size fits all, right? But again, bringing it back to the product, there's no better person to talk about this and how our ingredients fit into your products than our VP of Product and Innovation, Austin Stephenson. So I'm going to have Harold. Thank you, Harold.
Thank you, guys. All right.
Austin, come on up to the hot seat. Cool. All right, look at that vest. Looking fly. All right. So, Austin Stephenson, infuse the world, right?
Let's make it happen.
That is our saying. I don't know if I even need to introduce you. I think you've probably met most of the people on the webinar, but if you haven't, you will meet him shortly. He is the man. He knows everything about the product, how to get it into your product, but also is just a general purveyor of good products.
I love them.
Where does that come from? Like, when did you realize you were a product guy?
I think I realized I was a product guy when I started going to the grocery store with my mom and dad and running up and down the aisles, loving all the sale tags, putting all the products in the cart, and begging my parents to buy them, and then ultimately restricting it and saying, no, put that back, put that back, put that back. But I kept going back for more. I kept wanting to learn, try things out. And really early on in my athletic career, because I was a collegiate athlete, I had to try all the different protein supplements, all the energy supplements. That's right when Red Bull came out. That's right when people started shifting from whey protein to plant proteins. So I really
became like a human guinea pig because that was the advent of like sports like products.
Exactly. I mean, 100%. I mean, your body's your temple. To me, my body's also my lab. And so I'm trying out new products for different kind of chemistries and how it's really going to impact my performance and my overall well-being.
And speaking of lab, you spent some time at Eurofins, which is one of the big multinational lab testing firms, right?
Yeah, that's right. So my career has always been very specific to building businesses. And I saw a lot of opportunity in hemp and CBD. So Eurofins recruited me to build their hemp and CBD business unit. So I literally tested tens of thousands of hemp and CBD products out there. Now, Eurofins is one of the biggest North American food testing providers. And so we won the likes of CVS and Walgreens and ultimately tested for quality assurance throughout the entire supply chain. So everything from hemp cultivators to finished product makers. We saw the good, bad, and the ugly. And I remember the day specifically when I told CVS that they were not going to be able to go to market with their beverages because everything was falling out of suspension or sticking to the can liner or just wasn't showing up in the test. You came to me with an amazing technology from Harold.
Timing's everything, man.
It really is. And then, from that point, I said, hey, let me test the product. I'm going to try it. I fell in love with the product. A couple months later, we were on our journey to infuse the world.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I'm going to let you do that. Y'all heard me talk just enough. So I'm going to leave it actually to Austin to go solo for a little bit here. Good luck, my man.
Cool. Appreciate it. All right, cool. All right, so hey, everyone. Thank you for joining and tuning in. Thanks again, Ben, for an amazing presentation and intro. And thank you, Harold, for walking us through your amazing technology. I'm Austin Stephenson. I'm the VP of Product and Innovation at Vertosa. And today, I'm going to show you how easy it is to infuse your beverages with Vertosa's emulsions. Now, at the start of every single project is our trusty sample kit. This is what you order in the mail. This is what you receive. And so ultimately, what Harold said is that there's no one size that fits all, not at all. And so standard in our sample kit are 3 emulsions. It's going to be your organic, your natural, and your conventional. 3 emulsions. Now, ultimately, I know you're kind of asking yourself the question of well, which emulsion is best for my product? And so I'm going to tell you, it's really dependent on your desired goals, desired outcomes, and ultimately your product type. And so all of our emulsions are designed for performance in many different beverage types. Your conventional product, well, this is best for transparency. It's your waters, it's your teas. The natural product, this is the best for, well, really natural products. It's your plant-based protein drinks, it's your smoothies, your coffees, and your lattes. And then the organic emulsion system, well, this one's great for anything that requires an organic label. So anything from your organic cold pressed juice or your organic freshly brewed tea, our organic emulsion system, as Ben indicated earlier, has been certified by CCOF, so you can feel safe by putting Vertosa's emulsion in your product. Now, that then leads us to what is the best, most appropriate emulsion system for my product, right? And so at Vertosa Inc., we're really here to help you in that journey. But first, you need to make a few business decisions. Number 1, what type of beverage is it? Is it a coffee? Is it a water? Is it tea? Is it soft drink? This is your starting point because beverage chemistry is incredibly complex. And your beverage is going to be the start of your guide in the entire product journey. The second most important business decision is, well, what's your beverage going to go in? What's the packaging? And packaging is critical because, I mean, this is your brand. This is your marketing. This is the thing that's living on the shelf, right? And so not only is packaging critical to branding and marketing, but also it's an important cog in your supply chain. You need to know if your vendor is going to have enough supply for you to not only launch the product, but is the price point also going to be good so you can sustainably grow when you get reorders. Oh, and not to mention, you're putting this beverage into a package. So it has to live there. It's its home. So packaging becomes critical to compatibility. Do all of those active ingredients mixed up in the beverage format itself actually hold stable in the package? And so it's that stability which then drives safety. And your third point in business decision that you need to make is, what's the sterilization technique? Sterilization is critical because you're going to have to decide, does this product live on a shelf or does this product need to be refrigerated? Does this product need preservatives or does this product need pasteurization? Oh, and if it needs pasteurization, well, then you need to find a co-manufacturer that has those capabilities. Are they doing tunnel? Is it flash? Is it HPP? Hot fill? These are all critical steps. And those are just the top three. I didn't even get to the obvious, right? Which is, what's the active concentration, right? Is it 10 milligrams per serving? Is it 20 milligrams per can? I mean, this is critical. I mean, how much good stuff is actually in this product? I mean, this is really going to determine, number one, how much you spend on the product, but also how much the consumer is going to spend. And then, you know, ultimately what the MSRP is going to be, where you're going to fall on the price ladder, and who you're going to compete with. But all of these different important business decisions also impact the active ingredients. And specifically, as Harold was mentioning, it impacts physical stability, potency stability, and microstability. So once you wrap your head around all those decisions and you really kind of have really firm foundation on the beverage type, the packaging type, the sterilization type, and then ultimately how much good stuff is in it, then you're ready to infuse your product. And so that really starts with us at Vertosa Inc. And it starts with your beverage, your formula, and your trusty pipette. So let's get started. I'm going to pull out 3 beakers of water. Each beaker has approximately 300 milliliters in them. That's roughly about 10 fluid ounces. It's the same amount of water that's in that tall, skinny can at your convenience stores and gas stations today. And so then you have your 3 emulsions. So again, you have your conventional, you have your natural, and you have your organic. Now, every single one of these emulsion systems is concentrated at 20 milligrams per milliliter. So that means if you want 10 milligrams, you need exactly 1/2 of a milliliter to infuse. So let's start with the infusion. We get my trusty pipette. And if you see me around town, you always know I have a little pipette tips. And I'm going to get the conventional, and I dial this into exactly 1/2 milliliter. I get a pipette tip, conventional solution, 1/2 milliliter, and boom. Just like that. I have 10 milligrams and 10 fluid ounces. Give it a little quick stir, and there you have it. Now, let's continue with the natural and organic. So, I'm gonna get my pipette tip, I'm gonna get the natural, I'm gonna get exactly 1/2 milliliter. And boom, 10 milligrams, 10 fluid ounces. So let's keep having a little bit of fun. Do it with the organic. And with the organic, again, 0.5 milliliter, 10 milligrams, 10 full ounces. Now, quick little stir. And there you have it. 10 milligrams and 10 fluid ounces of conventional, natural, and organic. So then what's next? Well, what's next is flavor and a co-manufacturer. So let's start with flavor. We get all type of requests, all different type of flavors, but I got my 3 favorite. So first, you want to add a little bit of strawberry, add some strawberry. Boom. You want to add a little bit of orange, add some orange. Boom. You want to add some lemon lime, add lemon lime. Boom. Now you got it. You do a quick little stir, and then you have your strawberry, your orange, and your lemon lime. And you take this finished formula and you serve it to your co-manufacturer so that they can complete the fill and the finish. But the most important next step is for you to contact your Vertosa team member so that they can gather some feedback on your sample kit, they can schedule your production timeline, and most importantly, they can get your product on the shelf. And so now that I've shown you how easy it is to infuse with Vertosa, I'm gonna go ahead and bring back Harold and Ben, because I'm sure you have plenty of questions, and we're gonna open up the lines for a little bit of Q&A.
Wow, what a show. Thank you, Austin.
I am from the Show Me State, so that's kind of Missouri, kind of in my blood.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Okay, Tari, what do we got?
Wow. That was great, Austin. That was so much fun to watch. Let's see. We have, again, from Matt 420, why doesn't one size fit all from each of you one more time?
Want to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, one size does not fit all because the unique chemistry of every different type of beverage. Coffee, for example, is very different than coconut water. And so coffee is very, very acidic, which means it has a very low pH. Whereas coconut water is very alkaline. It has a high pH. And so when you start mixing active ingredients like emulsions and caffeine and other gaiwasa, all that kind of good stuff, you mix it up, the chemistries all have to pair well so that you have a stable product. Because the problem that you see is separation and sedimentation. If you ever open up a bottle and you see a bunch of stuff floating around on the bottom or sitting on the top, that's because the chemistry isn't compatible. And so that's why one size doesn't fit all, because you need to make sure that there's compatibility throughout the entire beverage.
Yeah, for me, it actually goes back to the very beginning, right? I've been in this industry for 5 years. I'm often thinking about future states and when we're exploring different cannabinoids and different applications. And I love asking our clients, like, what is it that you're trying to deliver to your consumer? And when we get to leverage some of the minor cannabinoids, some of the effects of the terpenes, and actually deliver a very efficacious experience, something that's unique, that's what's really exciting to me. And so in the future, it's like checking the boxes of what you actually want in the emulsion system, and having that flexibility is super important.
I think I'm gonna address a little bit on the experience side. Our emotion may feel differently, so one size will give you one experience, but then if you combine different emotions or you use different emotion types, you may feel differently. So, but that is for our science team to really spend hours to research and launch, what is that experience for you?
Very good.
Great, thank you guys so much for answering that question. Up next is Thomas. He's asking, what scaling technology does the co-manufacturer require to complete the formulation piece? Just the standard mixing tech?
Great question, Thomas. This was kind of our focus from the very beginning. We knew that to be an effective ingredient company that we needed to not impact the manufacturing process. And so whether you're pumping ingredients into your system, whether you're doing injections into each unit, or if you're just dumping it into a 1,200 gallon batch, we truly do make it that easy. It was one of our first clients actually, where they used to have this high shear mixer to really like blend their ingredients. They were using a powdered formula to start. And then once they started using us, they kind of just grabbed that equipment and set it aside, and they picked up a spatula and really it was dump it in, spin it up. And then we were hitting a 5 milligram per unit potency within 10%, which for the mathematicians out there, that's within 0.5 milligram on every bottle. So pretty phenomenal there. And that is our goal. And then Harold knows every time we develop a new solution, sometimes they have different viscosities, and I really press the team. It's like, we need to keep manufacturing in mind. And so, it really is that easy.
The next question is from Low 415, and it's coinciding with this question that was just asked is, what do you think the most critical piece of the supply chain is? And that's for Austin.
Yeah, supply chain questions. I mean, number one, it's your vendors. Making sure, we talked about it before, packaging. There are a lot of different packaging applications, whether it be bottle, glass bottle, aluminum can. You want to make sure that you pick the best vendors that are going to have that supply at the price point that you want, so that you can not only launch your product, but you can sustainably grow your product line when ultimately you get reorders. And then secondarily to that, it's your co-manufacturers. The biggest bottleneck that we have found in the industry today are co-manufacturers that are willing to take on CBD in this very kind of gray market, uncertain time period that we live in. I mean, we have advisors, investors that tell us all the time, co-manufacturers come a dime a dozen, but co-manufacturers that have the capabilities, the skill, and the willingness to infuse with CBD are far and few between. Luckily, we built an amazing network of co-manufacturers, and if you're looking for opportunities with co-manufacturers to launch a product, please reach out to us at Vertosa Inc., and we'll make sure we'll connect the dots for you, so that's not a pain point, but an opportunity for you.
Great, thank you so much, Austin. This next one, I believe, is going to be for Harold. Is from Greg. He asks, have you done or know of any research regarding CBD and interactions with beverages containing live bacteria, such as kombucha, and has there been any evidence of degradation over time?
Oh, that's a good question. Kombucha is tricky. Kombucha, I heard kombucha, they don't want to pasteurize. And it's live resin in there, and there is ethanol in there, right? Actually, a little bit high level ethanol, around 5%, right?
Yeah, it's typically try to 5% or less, 3.5 to 5.
Yeah. So, to be honest, kombucha is our next big project to be working on, and it's so complex, right? We need to spend some serious hours studying kombucha.
But we're already down that pathway. We've started to work with a handful, I should say, of kombucha companies that many of you may know, and it is that partnership and that collaboration that really drives our success. As Ben mentioned, we're a science-first team. We've identified kombucha as the leading functional beverage. And where CBD lives is in that functional beverage category. And so, we've partnered with the best in the kombucha business to ultimately really work on that chemistry to ensure compatibility, potency stability, physical stability, and microstability. And we're receiving excellent results in those three categories, and continue to refine, reiterate, to get better, so that we bring to market the best infused kombucha or live tea that the consumer can enjoy.
That's great. Thank you guys so much. We have a question that might add on to that last one. This is from Nick and the Little Wine Guy. Can we make additions to sparkling wine at the time of dosage? Environment would be pH of 3.1 or lower, and 6 bars plus with active yeast and monosaccharide.
It's very specific.
Very specific.
I love it though. I love that
Yeah.
question.
I feel that's an email question. A webinar question. Yeah, send us an email.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
He says, no problem, LOL. That does beg the question. What do you think the standard dose of a CBD beverage is?
Well, we've seen a lot of things on the market, right? So I would say that probably anywhere between 10 milligrams and 25 milligrams. What is important to note is, again, what are we trying to deliver to the consumer? Because if you do give them a 25 milligram dose in a single serving with an emulsion system such as ours, they will feel it, right? It is a questionable psychoactive experience because you are feeling an overwhelming sense of relief or relaxation. And so some people would rather just to know that the CBD is in there, have some efficacious physical effects, but maybe not impact mental clarity, right? And so 25 milligrams starts to dance that line. We've even done a 45 milligrams single dose shot. And in those cases, it definitely kind of impacts the experience. And so it's really up to you. And we pose the question back to you is again, what are you trying to deliver to the consumer? But if you're in that 10 to 20 milligram range, it is going to be very market acceptable.
Great. And we have time for just a couple more questions. We did have one come through a little bit ago that says, how does the vessel type impact potency? And I know we did talk about this briefly, but if you'd like to just revisit it.
Sure, yeah. The vessel type. So glass is usually safe because glass is hydrophilic. So our emulsion is, the core of the emulsion is hydrophobic. So they don't like each other. So emulsion kind of repel from the glass. Well, if you are considering PET or aluminum can, so that's a little bit tricky. So PET and aluminum can liner is all made from material, polymer material, which is hydrophobic. So under pressure or carbonation, our emulsion droplets may tend to stick to the liner or PET. Thus, you lose potency. So we have been working, enormous hours to figure this out. And so currently we have some solutions, and we are the solution will make sure our clients' emulsion will lose around 5 to 10% potency over 10 to 15 weeks. And then after that, the potency loss reach a plateau. And we think that's a workable solution, but our team is not happy. We are still we're still trying to figure out, is there a way to be 100% eliminate the potency loss?
And just to kind of add on to that a little bit, kind of when we first entered the space, we did see people putting products into cans and then all of a sudden moving them to bottles because they were experiencing such dramatic loss. And when I say dramatic, I mean 70% in as little as 3 days sometimes. And so to get from there to 5 to 10% over 12 weeks makes us very happy. Although, always pushing ourselves to be better. Anything else, Tariq? Or
I think there's just one more question, and this is, I believe, for Austin. Can you just repeat what the next steps are for bringing a product?
Yeah,
to the shelf?
absolutely. So like our focus right now is really as market makers. We're all in this together, right? If you're thinking about a CBD infused beverage or gummy or cosmetic, come to us. Reach out to your Vertosa team member and order a sample kit. That's the starting point for everything, is getting that sample kit and seeing which one of our standard emulsions may work already for your product. Or we can customize the emulsion to really dial it in for compatibility and stability with your product. But again, number one, reach out to us at Vertosa Inc., connect with the team member so that you can get your sample kit, you receive your sample kit. We'll gather some feedback, get some of your tasting notes, some other sensory analysis that we do, and then we schedule your production timeline. If you need help finding a flavor house or finding a co-manufacturer, we're here to help you for that. We have partners throughout the entire supply chain, whether it be domestically here in North America or across the pond over in the UK and the EU. We are your partners throughout the entire process. And then once we dial in all those pieces, we get a production date, we ship you the emulsion, and we go infuse the world together. So it's really that easy. But generally speaking, it can take as quick as, let's call it 30 days, to 60 or 90 days to complete the entire process. But within a quarter's time, you can have a finished product on the shelf, ready for someone to enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to press this here. We're going to wrap things up. We're in the last 4 minutes before the hour is up. I just wanted to thank all of you again for joining us, staying healthy and safe at home and participating virtually. This is our first webinar. And so beyond questions and ordering demo kits or what have you, if you have any feedback for us, please let us know. We'd love to do more of these, especially if things take a turn, not to be a pessimist, but, got to be prepared. I do want to encourage you to feel free to reach out to us directly. I mean, social is great, as Austin mentioned, at Vertosa Inc. In both Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you might find us. But if you ever need to email us, it's austinbenharold@vertosa.com. So our lines are open. We're here, and truly, we mean it. And just to get into a little bit more and hammer it home, I just wanted to kind of go back to a little bit more about our ethos as a company. You're part of the Vertosa family now. Our core values are trust, leadership, and community. And the number one thing that we hold dear is that we build trust with you, with each other, and with our community. And we will always tell the truth about technology, the industry, and where we're at. We're not going to try to pull a fast one on anyone. The other two components, leadership and community, are super important to us. So doing events like this and getting information out there and, just constantly educating. So follow us on social, again, at Vertosa Inc. And we will continue to keep you up to date. What's happening in Germany, the EU, what's happening with the FDA, and just product development in general. So join us, come hang out, come visit us in Oakland. Our office is yours. Until then, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Bye.